Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Monday Meditations with Juan. My name is Chuck Nix, the Bearded Wino, and thank you for supporting and thank you for checking in. We're happy to have you here today because we've got a really important discussion to have. Monday Meditations with Juan is a show that highlights beverage hospitality and culinary professionals. With that professionalism comes a level of responsibility. That responsibility is a lot of times overlooked or mishandled, is just part of the culture. I'm talking about responsible alcohol consumption and service. In this pandemic state that we've been in for the last couple of years, we've seen rises in over drinking, alcoholism, binge drinking in the suburbs. We've got reports coming out of Massachusetts of a lot of underage drinking due to direct to consumer shipping and no regulation on who's consuming or how it's being consumed. Um, there's been study after study on what's been going on with alcohol consumption across the nation. So much so that in places like California, they're making efforts for their beverage handlers, i.e., bartenders and servers, to now obtain a permit in order to be able to serve alcohol. What this looks like is if you want to be a server or a bartender in a place like California, you have to take about an 8 hour class and you pay a fee to show that you are concerned about your profession and that you are going to be responsible in serving alcohol. And with that comes a penalty if you don't stick to the script, right? If you're serving underage drinkers or over serving, you can be penalized yourself by the law. This is already in practice in places like Tennessee, where I used to work, and where me and my friend Dave Krog worked in Memphis. Um, this concern also leads to studies at places like Scripps Research Institute, where they are now focusing the studies and the research on neurons in the frontal cortex that affect anxiety during withdrawal from alcohol usage disorder. So, what I want us to know is we as professionals take alcohol service and consumption very seriously. And while it may be just part of the culture to, get lit or have a good time and be jovial, there's a level of responsibility that comes with it. There's a lot to unpack here. To help me unpack that and have this discussion is my good friend, Chef Dave Krog. He's the executive chef of Dory in Memphis, Tennessee, a fantastic tasting room. And he's a humanitarian and he's a strong proponent for equitable exposure in the culinary, hospitality, and beverage industry. So let's welcome him in. Dave, how are you today, mate?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Man, no, thank you for taking the time. I know you are super, super busy. We have conversation after conversation, and I think we make the most of that time because we know what we all have to do as soon as the conversation is over. So we make the most of it. So thank you for taking the time today.
Absolutely.
So look, your story is no secret. Your story and your journey to get to where you've gotten to. Um, you have much acclaim, but if you could just a little bit, just a touch, tell us a little bit about your path and alcohol consumption and what it meant to you to get to where you are today.
So every time that I'm asked to tell anything about to be how I got to get sober, first I had to get drunk enough to get sober.
Wow.
And I started in a kitchen when I was 15 years old. I was washing dishes, and I would always look down the line and I would see these guys, and they were, much older than me, and they were like pirates. These guys were it was a downtown Tampa red sauce joint.
Okay.
So, so American Italian, and they
Yeah.
were doing 300 covers a night. And these guys were like beasts, and I was like, man, that's what I really looked up to that, and I wanted to do that. And it took me from dishwasher to cutting onions to whatever, all the way up. And the culture back then and even now
Yeah.
is alcohol and drugs, and that it was very attractive to me. To want to fit in, to want to be this tough chef, and I seen that it seemed to me that the guys that I was looking up to on my way to where I am today had, well, early on, were these angry, drunk,
Yeah.
you know, uh, there was a lot, but to me that was powerful. To me
Yeah.
there was this thing. I was a small kid and raised by a woman. I had some things that I had some esteem issues for sure.
Mm.
And the alcohol, that seemed like fun. And so being that was what I looked up to, that was what I saw every day, that was surely what I became.
Yeah.
And that led to a lot of problems. I had a very early start in an executive position with an actor in Mississippi that gave me all of the ego and all of the money that I needed to destroy me, to almost to destroy me. So
Look, so there's so much that's there, Dave, and me and you have to talk, but I want the people to know, like, you started when you were super young in this business, and you mentioned that idea of a chef, right? The angry, loud chef who's drunk or stoned or whatever. I mean, that's culture, right? How many people do we know that come into the shift and have to hit a bowl outside before they come in and get
yeah,
to work?
or
Or
during
the shift shot right behind the bar. It's 7 o'clock. We're about to get busy. Let's take a shot to get it going.
yeah,
And these things happen in our industry, and that's what I mean by sometimes it's overlooked or it's mishandled. Look, there's functioning alcoholism. There's people that are alcoholics and they are functioning, and sometimes you would appear that they're functioning better when they're intoxicated.
right.
But then there's, like you said, you had to get drunk enough to know that it was time to change.
Yeah, I functioned for years. Like, I used to tell people that when you're talented, they afford your habits. And that was
Mm.
absolutely true
Yeah.
for me until I was in my 30s,
Wow.
when I was out of control in a lot of ways. I could write menus, I could work service, I could do that. But to be present and not a complete lunatic was becoming harder and harder for me to do.
Um, what was the main thing? Like, what do you think was the biggest help in you uh, starting that path? Like, what helped you the most out of drinking before shift, during shift, and so forth?
Well, at the end for me was that Erling Jensen, who is a mentor, a friend,
Yeah.
even a father figure to me, somebody that I care about a whole lot. Here in Memphis, he he was changing the fine dining game in the early 90s, and he has probably one of the most successful restaurants in the city. Well, I was his chef de cuisine, but I was back and forth. My drug and alcohol problem was so sporadic, and I could do this for a little while, but then I would be this way. I never quit, but I could always get like enough of a handle on it.
Hmm.
Finally, the old man fired me.
Mm.
When Erling Jensen fires you
Hmm.
um, in this city, it's pretty tough to get a job.
Wow.
But I don't think that was the. I know that was definitely a spark for me. It wasn't that I was unhireable or whatever, although I probably believed that. I think more than anything, disappointment of somebody who really, really, really. There have been other people that I think that I cared about, but seeing this man who really seemed to have something for me and really really cared to share and whatever our relationship, watching that kind of disappointment. I was already sick of being a drunk, but that pushed me over the edge. I think I got sober 6 months later, or not, maybe not even 6 months later, and the rest is history. I mean, where we are today,
I
you know
know.
it's been a
You are what? Is it 9 years now?
I got sober March 9th, 2014, so a little over 8.
Nice, nice. Congratulations, man. We're happy and proud for you, man, and everything that you're doing. And I know it's a continued fight with your addiction. Look, let me ask you, if there was a study around at that time that said that we're going to target neurons in your brain that that control anxiety, would that have been an option for you?
I thought about that. I discussed that with my wife, who's also sober. Actually,
Mhm.
she's 3 months more sober than I am.
I
Uh,
love Amanda too. I
yeah,
love both of y'all,
she's an
man.
incredible woman, and a huge part of everything that we do, our business, our nonprofit stuff, our outreach thing. Amanda is a driving force there. She has taken some of she is the pioneer. She's the one who said, I'm going to go do this. And I remember when she got out of treatment thinking, oh, I want to look like that, because I was soul sick, and
Mm.
there was a lot, and it's hard, especially when you're an addict. And when you're addicted, I was so addicted to alcohol that the end for me, I was squatting, and my mom had moved, and I was squatting in her house before they came and cleaned it and everything. There's no power, no anything, and I was drinking 1 ounce of Blue Top vodka every hour, because if I did not drink, I had a if I didn't have a drink every 2 hours, I had a seizure.
Oh.
It's brutal. And so to wean off of that, that's how I did it. And I got help. I ended up going to a detox center and then treatment,
Hmm.
and started working a 12-step program. But if I look at my path to sobriety, and what I do daily to stay sober, I think that if you would have offered me a kinder, gentler way to get sober and stay sober, I probably would have had to decline. I am the kind
Wow.
of alcoholic that had to suffer
Mm.
to, I am not a low bottom alcoholic. I had to lose everything.
Yeah.
And all the way down to, Amanda jokes that I had one box at the end. But this is a guy, me, who, not too many years ago, man, had cars and motorcycles and you name it. And I slowly started to give that away to alcohol
Ooh.
and the lifestyle.
Ooh. You know, everything that you've been through, it is such a testament to hear your story. And I know that there are other people that are in this industry that have the same fight, have the same struggles. And it's important that when they hear these kind of conversations, that they read the reports, your story. Um, what else is it that you can do? Like, what are you doing in your restaurants, right? For people that want to work with you, right? That are a part of this culture. And then they come work with you. What are you doing to kind of keep people safe from going down that road?
That was our mission when Amanda and I wrote the business plan for this restaurant. And we actually did uh, a worksheet, a booklet that was given to us by another businessman, to try to find our core values,
Hmm.
together. What are, it's funny that you can be married and and have this long relationship, and I believe that if you did what your core values are with your spouse, you might be surprised that they are not the same. It is it is remarkable that Amanda and I were very much in line, and especially when it came to the business. Having a place to, you don't have to be in recovery, or a non-drinker, or don't smoke pot, or anything to work for us. That's not the thing. What
Yeah.
we do offer, and what we really wanted to make crystal clear to people that were employed to us, is this is a safe place.
Yeah.
The dishwasher isn't, sneaking booze in the back door, or selling you cocaine. Nobody's smoking weed at the dumpster. Like,
Yeah.
it is a place. Yes, there is some sobriety there. There's probably 80 years of sobriety in that room, in our building, including the servers, and some of the kitchen staff. The guys that do drink there, by example, my example, and the example of the other people that are normal people, there's no abuse. I don't have kids coming in there with hangovers, and part of that is that to work for me, and to work in Dory, the expectation of what we were trying to, my expectation of you coming in there is very high. The standard of that restaurant is super high. The culture is pretty laid back. So
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
achieve this super high standard by loving these people where they are,
Yeah.
teaching at every moment possible, with very gently redirecting people. There's no screaming. I've lost my temper twice in that kitchen in a year and a half. Uh, what I would consider losing my temper,
Sure.
and I was embarrassed. I took the individual to the office. I apologized, of
Yeah.
course, and I tried to figure out, where later on where I lost control. And what I always know is that if I'm out of character and I am angry or losing my temper, then I'm scared. It's
You
either
know, I just these things kind of transfer from the front to back. I know the level of intensity and expectation that it takes to work with you. I mean, I remember our time at interim, and I remember there was this piece of paper that was posted in the office, and I promise you, Dave, I still follow these three things. There was three things listed there. It was understanding, will, and competency. And all three of those things, right? You have to understand the job in front of you. You have to want to do the job that's in front of you. And are you competent enough to do the job in front of you? And all three of those things were professionalism. And when you dig into it, it breeds this level of importance, and you have to meet this standard just to meet the status quo here, right?
right.
In a lot of instances, those things would make you, the higher coveted employee. But for you and working in your situation, no, this just gets you in the door. This is your
Yes,
cover.
yes. Right.
This is
Yeah,
just
and you will find that you know the idea of Dory and getting this restaurant, this concept open in Memphis, where we are the only tasting menu restaurant, and we have so many things that this restaurant does, and it has goals to achieve inside the building and outside of the building. That somebody, a chef, to come to work for me, or a server, you have to drink the Kool-Aid.
hmm
You have to buy in to the mission of this restaurant, or you will not be successful there. The average guy off the street who wants to come and think that he's going to tweezer up pretty vegetables all day long doesn't understand that the first 6 hours of work is brutal. Service is pretty because we have an open kitchen and it's calm,
yeah,
and it is spaced the way that it's supposed to be. But prepping that kitchen is intense. And
yep,
although it's fun and lighthearted, it is intense. And the younger guys that come in there without any preconceived ideas, or they seem to last longer than a guy who's been doing this for 10 years, who
yeah.
comes in there thinking that he's going to. So it's a great place to be if you are serious about your craft. We allow this is a place where we deal with ingredients that are grown by people we know,
Yep.
and so when you hold these things, it is different than if it came off the back of a Cisco truck. Like, you literally know the person that tended that from seed to fruit.
Uh,
It's
you mentioned these ingredients. I remember this time, Dave. I don't think that there's been very few moments in life where I have eaten something or tasted something, and it's like the experience of it has brought me to almost to tears. So you know that I have these weird allergies, right? It might be pectin. I don't really understand. I can't eat like strawberries, carrots, celery, all these crazy things. I can't eat them if they're raw. And you were like, man, maybe it's the product you're getting. I don't know. And I remember you had some heirloom carrots, and they're like purple and yellow and orange. And you're like, Chuck, try one of these carrots. He's like, if you hurt yourself, I'm going to get you straight to the hospital myself. But try one of these carrots. I tasted this carrot and I had no reaction whatsoever. And it was the quality of the ingredients you had. I ate this carrot and I sat like in the space for a second, and I almost cried because I hadn't eaten a carrot raw in God knows how long, right? Like I don't know if I'd ever tasted it. It's the level of quality that you put into selecting ingredients, the care and concern that you put into the people making the food, right? Because
Yes.
if there's no passion in the hands that are on the cutting board, then there's
Yeah,
going to be no passion on the plate.
yeah, you'll know it.
Easily, right? Let me ask you this: we used to smoke Monte Cristos and drink coffee after shift, right?
That's right.
And we talk about Dory. We used to talk about it.
Yeah.
When did you actually conceive the concept for Dory?
The the old people, my old friends, will say that this has always been, and even there's a little article years and years and years ago, when I was most definitely still drunk, that I was talking about a tasting restaurant with cigar lockers and I had, and believe it or not, that still may come.
Yeah.
But I've got a good friend who's got a space that would enjoy that. But
Nice.
I think that when this really came, thinking of Dory the way Dory is now, Amanda and I were probably 2 months into our relationship and very much in love, drunk love, and laid up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she asked me if I would write. She didn't even believe I was who I was. That's how
Mm.
bad that we were. I met that woman in an after hours bar at 4 in the morning, asking her to use her phone so I could make it official. And so our relationship in the beginning was absolutely, it was it was toxic, it was sick, it was a lot of things that weren't great, but here we are now almost
Yeah.
10 years later. And so I started to write this menu up in the ether, and talking to her about it, and I talked about Dory, and I talked about how this would be, and I talked about the art, and then she would help a little bit. The thing was, I had an excellent job. um, the chances of getting to ever do this are so small. Opening a restaurant is super risky. It's not cheap, and most of them fail early.
The margins are small.
They are. You're not going to make any money, and
No.
that's just, we didn't open Dory to make money. We didn't open Dory to get rich.
Sure.
We opened Dory so I had a place. We always have thought of this restaurant as, it is mission driven, but it is a platform for change. It is a platform for open discussion, whether that is the culinary side, the wine side. Everybody in that building is able to open their mouth. It is not ruled by me. It is not ruled by Amanda. We write the checks, but the dialogue is free, and everybody gets to chime in, and there is no, if you say something, I found this out very early on, that if you allow everyone to talk about what we're doing, you would be surprised what you can accomplish. If
Mm.
there is a first year culinary student in there who's scrolling Instagram at 4 in the morning and dreaming of whatever, and he brings something to you that is brilliant, I don't see why we're not talking about that. Not shut up, go back over there and do your thing, because I came from that.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that all of the things about my upbringing in the restaurants was negative. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have so many smart chefs kicking my ass for so many years. But the way that I approach it is a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't even know what the word is. New age.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I would absolutely say that. Well, you're innovative, and you're innovative in the way that you're not necessarily just taking this old way or this traditional style of doing things and making that the standard that you must know and you must adhere to. I think that, like you just said, you listen to the young kid. You just said the younger guys, the new cats, they fare out to be more successful than the guy who's well seasoned and experienced.
Right.
Look, I know a lot of those young cats, man, and I remember watching them come into the kitchen, and I remember you would have these young guys, 19 years old, 20 years old, and they would just be knife work, knife work, knife
Yeah.
work, knife work. And then as soon as they had like a free moment or breathing, I remember a kid would come up to you and say, Chuck, what do you think of my carrots now? Look at him. Look at him. Dave's going to love this.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
important.
you're right, right. It is important, right? Texture's a real thing. And then when he had a free moment, he would make us lunch, and it'd be this outstanding lunch. And I'd be like, wow, this is crazy good. And it was because they put that work in. They were listening to you. They had the tenacity to keep going, and they didn't get discouraged. That's the kind of environment that you're creating.
Right.
Do you think you could have created this kind of environment, before you were sober?
I would say no, but I will also say that I, and this has been pointed out to me over the past 2 years, I've gotten emails and messages from cooks that worked with me in the early 2000s that told me somehow this, and outlining these things that I had said to them, shown them, mentored them, that changed their life long, like tear jerking things. So I told Amanda, I was like, I wasn't even there.
Wow. Wow.
And she said that the real you is always there.
Mm.
The things that are coming out of your mouth that you are passionate about and that you believe in, regardless of the drugs and alcohol, were somehow transmitting to these young people that here so many years later. And I had an opportunity. This young man came and he lives in South Carolina and he's a chef. He still has the jacket, and I bought him his first chef knife. He has it.
Mm.
It's beat up, but he has it, and he shot me a picture of it. But he came to eat at the restaurant. He was in Clarksville, Mississippi, and he starts to tell me about these things that, and I'm honest with him, and I said, look, I was so under the cover of alcohol back then that I can't pinpoint where this, but it didn't matter. So given this second, third, fourth, fifth chance that I have, now to have long-term sobriety in a space that I own, I built,
Yep.
the heart and soul of this is Amanda and myself, that we this is where I can consciously say the words that, even though may have been saying it back then, I can tune what each one of these guys, because they're all in different stages of life. I've got a guy there that's got 100 days of sobriety. He needs to be talked to in a different way than the kid who is 24, who has no issues. I need to be talking to him about knife skills. I will
Yep.
tell you, this is something very cool. There was a kid named John Johnson that
Okay.
worked with us at Interim.
Hmm.
He, uh, he may have been gone by the time that you got there, but he was 17 when I met him. He is now the chef tournant of Dory. Many years later, he went out into the world. He worked for all of the big boys, and he came back. He is the longest chef in our restaurant. He was almost my first hire,
Wow.
and he had started. He has grown into this. He's got a great attitude. He's a sweet kid, and he has grown not by just my hands, but the other chefs in the city that have guided him, that brought him back to me. So here we are, so many years later, that this young man is back in the kitchen and doing things at a high level. And I believe that had I not connected with him when he was fresh out of high school,
Right.
that maybe his path would have been different. He has a lot to offer this community, and he is a sweet soul, and I'm super proud of him.
You have a lot to offer the community. You mentioned some nonprofit work that you do, and I know you to be a strong proponent for equitable exposure. You're doing
Absolutely.
everything you can to make sure that everybody who wants to be a part of this can be a part of this, and at the highest level. You're never satisfied with things, right? What are some of the community efforts that you're putting out there in Memphis?
Well, I am probably the fist in the air proponent for local farming.
Okay.
And we don't have any broad line distributor in the restaurant. There's no Cisco
Mm.
truck. There is no big boy distributor.
There's
All
no
of
Cisco truck. There's no American Foods. None of that.
None of it.
Wow.
We
Right.
have, I have told them they had to go so many times that finally Amanda had to go out and say, "Look, it doesn't matter. He's never going to ever," because it was my goal to be a restaurant, and we served some people in there. So to get the quality of the ingredient, the quality was not necessarily first on my mind. The first part of the farm piece of this restaurant was the local food economy, and that started 8 years ago. It was brought to my attention. I had met some guys selling off the back of a truck who I'm still great friends with, who have gone on to do some big stuff that I could talk about and forever. But seeing these people grow these things and feed their family was important to me. And spending the money of this restaurant, my home money with these people was super important. That grew to be where, how many more? So I started collecting farmers, and farmers eventually started collecting me. And now we have it. we have what we need. The Memphis and the surrounding area, we write menus out of our backyard. That's it. And we wrote 145 dishes the first year that do not include dietary restrictions. The 16 course tasting menu in the kitchen, all of that is different. Bar menu, 145 one-off dishes just for the menu dining room is a brutal pace. And it's a brutal pace, even especially when you are guided by only what you can get right here. It
Wow.
drives creativity, it drives technique, it drives the conversation. I don't believe that there's any chef out there, maybe, that can do this alone, but it takes a lot of people doing a little bit.
That artisan style, what man, Dave? That's it's out. It's flooring, and I mean, it makes you want to be a part of it. Like I, right now, I just want to be in the dining room. The time
Yeah,
is going to come for me to be in the dining room.
you're coming anyway.
Yeah, the time is coming. And I'm in Mississippi or in Memphis. We're a short drive away, but our schedules are incredibly busy. But it's just all the work that we're doing, right? For the people, for the industry, for the culture, creating safe spaces, opening doors for other people. I
Yeah,
think
and
this is. Go
I
ahead.
was going to speak on that, the opening doors thing. Amanda and I were involved in the 275 food project, and we had a an initiative in there called Ground Up, where we were we basically had a competition. Our goal was to bring to the fore to that to bring brown people into the high end dining, which
Yeah.
was, it was brought to my attention, and let me tell you how green I am, and how blinders I am just of this is that you know me well enough to know that none of that stuff makes a difference to me. I don't see
Right.
that, and so
Right.
when it was brought to my attention that young black women and men were unable to break this glass ceiling, I didn't even know. It
Yeah.
had to be it had to be sit me down
Yep.
and show me. And at that point, Amanda and I latched onto that, and we're like, okay, this is what we did, and so it is important that for me, that Memphis, as diverse as we are equally
Yep.
diverse.
Yep. Yep.
With my kitchen, it is everybody is in it, and everybody is learning the same thing, and hopefully to go on and run their own kitchens and do things and pass on the message, and that was something that I don't think that, and I don't know if it's a southern thing, I don't know if it is, I would assume that it is nationwide. That was something that is something that is, is very important to me and to my family, and that is everybody is included, and everybody has a voice, and everybody gets trained equally.
Yeah. How about that? You're
Not,
not just sticking you in
you can't,
dish.
this guy over here, this, and then this guy's never going to make it over here because your perception is skewed, and
That's heavy, Dave. That's
it's
heavy. That's
skewed.
heavy.
And that unfortunately is the truth. Um, and until it was pointed out to me and I got to really look at it, there are some things the about our community here in Memphis, but I can only speak on our community here in Memphis, is that we are leaving talent on the table without without knowing why. I think that sometimes you have this perception or this idea that this person, that you don't even know it. It is something that is either from your childhood or maybe an experience that happened along the way, that you are making these unconscious decisions because you don't know any better. And I would love to be the person to wake you up.
I tell you what, it's important that you say that, and I think that anybody who is sleeping and needs to be woken up, you need to be the one that does it. Because I remember the bug hit me working the dining room floor with you in the kitchen, and I think it was a point where you remember how it went, right? I was working there, GM quits, fires the AGM on the way out. Here
Right?
I am, the bar manager. You're next up, and really have not much of an idea of what to do.
Hell no.
And it
I'm a
took,
cook.
it's like get up, get ready, right?
Yeah.
And I think it took me paying attention to the seriousness and the level of intensity you maintained in the kitchen for me to say, okay, I need to match that level of seriousness and professionalism in the front, or else this really doesn't work. And I'm doing a disservice to all people in this building because I was the leader of the front at that point, right?
Yes.
That's where the bug hit me. And then we talk about uh, equal treatment, equal training, talent on the table. I had no idea what I could do and who I could be until I saw that. But also, I just didn't know that that was for me. I literally was thinking, okay, as a Psalm, there are no black Psalms. This is not a game for us.
Yeah. But
That's
why
what my
not you?
brain was. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Why not? And it took you to say things like that,
Yeah.
and you would tell me in the office like, Chuck, you got to do this. You need to do that. I mean, and I would say things like, well, that's not really me. And you're like, why not you?
Right.
Or you'd say it is you,
Yeah.
so you got to do it, and you have to believe that. And it takes somebody like you to inspire people. um, I know you to be a great man, a great inspirer, a great father. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day.
Hey man,
And
our
you are
daughter.
all of those things too. And the thing that with your girls and the way we had some amazing conversations along the way when I was a new dad and a couple years married and everything. You had some experience there that I don't forget. I think that men sharing positive experiences and the hard stuff
Yeah.
with other men save marriages. I mean, we teach each other how to be, and we teach our spouses how to treat us. And I think that conversation, guys don't want to talk about that, but you were open with me, and that encourages me to be open with others.
Well, man,
In
I, I
case you know.
I just look, Dave. I just thank God for you, man. You're a great person, a great friend. I'm so happy that we're here doing this, and I hope that if you're just checking in, this is Monday Meditations with Juan. I'm here with my good friend Dave Krog of Dory in Memphis, and I hope you guys are learning more about him and what he has going on. And also, this is how our talks go, Dave. We have one direction and we
Yeah,
go.
they're all
I hope you guys learn more about me as well, because that's just how it works when we get together and in this conversation. Let's talk about this. I know you're never really satisfied with what you're doing. You're always going to be serving your purpose to see greater. Uh, what are things that are coming down the line? What else are you doing? What else do you have anything you can talk about that's coming up for you? Um,
well,
after-
we want to be involved in a farm,
okay.
and whether it is Dory Farms or it is a farm that is farming for Dory's, because we have farms that are planting for us and everything, but we want to have our own farm, for not just for the purpose of getting vegetables, but also learning. We want a place that we can employ people. We want, whether that is people coming out of treatment centers, or we are trying to develop something that we can use to teach young people the value of urban farming and what you can do with that, whether it's make money or feed your family or whatever. But
Yeah.
the goal is that we will grow. Let's just say we just grow mirepoix. We just grow onion, celery, and carrots for the restaurant, and that's it that we take from that. And then everything else we grow as a communal garden. And what Amanda wants to do is she wants to take all of the surplus and all of the things that we were growing to go out in the community, and she wants to put it on a uh, a food truck, a raw food truck. And she wants to decorate it like, of course, Amanda would decorate it, happy and all of that, and
Yeah.
and have designated zip codes every
Okay.
day that this truck shows up, where people can order online on a sliding scale, or absolutely no cost to them. And we show up and we drop off whole foods to communities that have limited or no access to that. It has bothered me from a guy who has been there, but didn't really care back then. But I've lived in these neighborhoods where there is no access to Whole Foods. It is just the corner store or the candy lady,
Yeah.
and you can't raise strong, healthy people in that aren't eating nutritious foods. And so that is a mission, that is a budding initiative that Amanda and I have been speaking about for a couple of years, getting the restaurant stable and starting to reach out. We've gotten a little bit of traction with a couple of farmers who are interested in that, who can do that. And then my wife is the networking queen. She has so many nonprofit people that are advising her into
Yeah.
help us make this a reality. I think that going down. So we were doing this nonprofit, I told these ladies this. It was a black female and her partner, and they were asking me to go do this project, and I said, look, it was in Soulsville, and I said, what are these people going to think, or what are they going to say? Here is this tattooed skinny white kid down in their neighborhood trying to change some stuff. I was like, what business do I have down there? And this woman leaned really close into me and she said, if you don't go down there, then they're not going to come out. And
Yeah.
it hit me like, I'm going to take my lumps for this. And I did. I went down there and I got told, even at my own event, I had a lady who lived in Soulsville basically asked me what the hell I was doing down. And I had a pastor, Marlon, that was next to me, who kind of pulled me out of the fire, because I was like, I'm down there because I was asked to, and I see a need, and I have the resources, and I have this is what I want. But she really wanted me to talk about it. What is your purpose?
Wow.
And she stuck me on the spot, and like I said, she was sitting next to me on a panel at my own event, so
Oh, wow.
it made me think about the mission. It made me think about true intention. Like, this is not a vanity piece for me. This is not something that I'm doing because I want the world to know that Dave Krog gives a shit about the black community. That is not what I'm doing. What I'm doing here, and what Amanda and I are doing here, what we want to do here, is what we said we want to do. We want to bring Whole Foods to neighborhoods that don't have access, whether it is because they can't get to the grocery store, or it's because it's no secret there are areas of the city that it is hard, that there are no walking distance grocery stores.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
tough
what
in
that
those
is.
food deserts. I'm sorry. I was just saying it's tough in food deserts like that.
It
And
is.
what you're doing is amazing. Look, I'll say this for the lady that put you on spot.
I
I can
respect
appreciate. I bet that was intense.
it. It was.
Look, but I mean, you have to appreciate her concern for community, and I think that y'all both shared the same passion for that very community. She was playing Mama Bear, right? This is
Yes, she
my
was.
community. What are you
Why are
doing?
you here?
We've seen this happen over and over and over again. Are
Yeah.
you going to be some of the same?
Right.
And you were saying it's not some of the same, and kind of ignorant to the negligence before. It's like, I'm just here to do a good thing,
Right.
and I want to do right by you and the people here. So it's great that those shared passions came together. And sometimes it takes intense moments. We know that best from working in industry, right? How many times does it take intense moments to get to a beautiful place in a restaurant, right? How many
Yeah.
times does it take
Sometimes
a really,
daily.
really harsh conversation in the office or
Right.
behind the line to say, hey, we got a job to do. We got something to do. We both want the same thing. We both maybe see two different paths to get there, but somehow, some way, we've got to get in the same car and get to the end. And I think that that's great that you work with the community and so forth like that. So, I mean, aside from just, doing Dory, and I don't say just doing Dory, but aside from Dory, and then you're looking at farms, you're looking at community efforts, everything that you do, Dave, is for the people. I
Yeah.
mean, what do you do for yourself?
I drive a 1997 80 Series Land Cruiser, a big. So that's what I do for myself. I tinker on an old truck, and I have a 5-year-old,
Yeah,
and Doris and my wife, like, they are the reason.
yeah,
They have, Amanda has always been encouraging me to go for the big stuff.
yep,
And we've gotten here because I have that, and so I try to spend the bulk of my time with my daughter and my wife outside of work, because The baby's at the job, Amanda's at the job, and at the house we have a granola company. It's at the house. It is work, 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 work.
Yeah.
Granted, it is just it's a lifestyle. Our lives are revolve around our work, whether it is on the nonprofit side or the community side, or it is on the Dory or 901 side. It's all work. So finding happiness or finding something that is not we don't there really just isn't a lot of time for that.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that. Look, I have my priorities that I say they're in order, and I always say it's God, family, others, and then self. And my
Right.
wife Michelle is always telling me, it's like, you got to put yourself higher up. It's like, if you
Right.
don't put yourself higher up, you're not going to be good for others. And I'm like, but
He's
here's the
right.
thing, my own purpose, like my entire purpose, like you, it's for others. It's for family, right? It's for those things, and God on top of all of it. And that's what, for me, that's what keeps everything in order. God's going to make sure self is fine. I need to do my work, His will, others and family, or family and others, and then I'll be fine after that. So it's a selfless kind of mindset. It's probably where we find our likeness. Hey, look, let me ask you this: you still keeping foie gras on deck in the kitchen?
It is absolutely on deck in the kitchen. I have Gabe Velasquez comes in, and him and his
Yeah.
his Venezuelan family will eat a loaf. Now, I on the counter tasting. So Dory is a 6-course tasting menu. Wednesday through Saturday, and on Tuesday it is 4 courses.
Okay.
And if you can, this seating, this meal is booked probably 6 months out right now. It is a 16 course in the kitchen. We have a counter in our kitchen that seats 4 people. There are 3 foie gras courses on there. The one starts in the beginning. There's one, and then my chef de cuisine makes a foie gras caramel that's chocolate coated that I was kind of like about, and then he made it, and it took him probably a month to get it. And once he got it, you're like, oh man, don't tell anybody about that.
Dave, I need a napkin right now. My mouth is watering.
Share.
Right now.
There's some things that, look, I want to give away everything that I have, everything up here, everything. I want you to have it and use it, whatever. And there are a couple of things that we have done at Dory that I'm like, don't tell me.
Oh my God.
We're
Oh
gonna
my
keep
God.
you when you leave, you can. But right now, let me just sit on this
Yeah.
and know that we have done something special.
Yeah, it's special indeed. No doubt about that. All right, look, I got to ask you some questions. I ask everybody that comes on the show these questions. It helps us to know you a little bit better, and this is where it gets a little bit fun, okay? So, look, if you could share a meal with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
It would be Amanda.
Hold on. You share a meal with her all the time.
No, I was thinking if I could sit somewhere where it was just me and this woman, and I didn't have to think about
Yeah.
anything else, and I could
Okay.
just focus on this person and not all of the surrounding noise, that would make me the happiest.
Wow, that might be the best answer. That might be.
Because you see, we live
Yeah.
together. We run
Yeah.
2 businesses. We have
Yeah.
a 5-year-old who is busy. This little girl don't stop. And at the end of the day, it's 12 o'clock at night. You're still talking about work. The laptops are still open. Even if there might be 3 devices on our house, and Amanda's over there, answering emails and scrolling and doing all of these things for our social media stuff. There is it's not that I'm losing her.
No.
It's just, I just would 2 hours of nothing.
Yeah, we got to figure that out, man. We got it. Me and Michelle got to come take Doris, and we got to take your phones and take your computers and go sit down.
You're never getting that phone out of Amanda. Look,
I'm coming for it.
look, she might turn it upside down and put it on the table, but that thing, man, it's amazing that she gets so much accomplished, and she can do it riding down the road.
Well, testament, it all can be done. No matter what you thought, it can be done. Let me ask this: what style of cooking best describes Dave Krog?
Intentional.
Mm. Now, when
Yeah,
you say intentional, is that to say that sometimes people just they have an intention, they go somewhere else, and then that defines them? What do you mean intentional?
I think that everything that I do well starts with the intent that it is going to be exactly or close to what is in my head. Do I that rarely ever ends up that way. But knowing that I've set an intention, whether that is to buy the best product that I can, and the reason why, all of that sets from the phone call to the farmer all the way to getting it, washing it, teaching my staff how to put it in, starting to talk about it. I tell these kids all the time, I was like, if you need to be direct in your thoughts of the outcome and the why, the purpose. It doesn't matter if I'm cooking cheeseburgers. I love
Hmm.
cheeseburger, but I approach that cheeseburger the same way that I approach cutting a loaf of $40 a pound foie gras. It is the same. It is the same thought of making sure that I am respecting all of it. So maybe respect is the word
Mm.
for all of the things, and grateful, man. Like every time that I walk in my kitchen, especially if I'm alone, like I built it,
Yeah.
not physically, but the architect, myself, and all of it. Like, so I will be in there by myself and be like, holy shit, this is mine. Like, so overwhelmed with gratitude. There is no wonder that it's so clean. Because
I am. I am
being there
likewise.
scrubbing the floor.
I am likewise incredibly grateful for you and everything that you've done. I remember seeing that kitchen before it was finished, and I just remember the look on your face, the way that you spoke about it, so emphatic about all the things you were going to do and how it was going to play out. And I'm sure that it's working out intentionally the way that you planned for it to, with some evolution to it. Man, I
Yeah,
think
and a
that's
ton
great.
of support.
Oh, 1,000%. Let me ask you this: if you had $20, what are you going to go eat?
Costco lasagna.
Costco lasagna.
Yeah.
Okay, damn, I'm not gonna lie. I was sure that you were gonna say Gus's, but you
No,
said,
but I do love Gus's. But you
"Oh
can't eat
man,
at
Gus's
Gus's
is
for
good."
20 bucks.
No, you can't. Not anymore. Dang, I've been gone too long. All right. Let me see. If there was one restaurant that you could eat at, you would die a happy man. Where is that place?
That's tough. That is a real, because if I think about how I like to eat, the
Hmm.
things I like to eat, I almost would think that if you caught me in Indianola at a mom and pop, a meat and three that's been around for
Yeah,
50 years, that would be death row.
yeah.
Let me have the hamburger steak with onions, mashed potatoes, and greens, and cornbread, and I would be like, done. That would be one. But I think that I I really love Eric Repair's approach to fish, and
Okay.
the simplicity of buying what seems so simple as buying quality fish and not screwing with it too much and plating it simply and cooking it gently and with respect. That is a restaurant that I would, at the very least, would love to go eat lunch at, just so I could see another man's respect the way that man seems to respect his food. And I have my psalm has eaten there 5 times, and he says, "Man, and lunch every time." And he said, "You will never." And he's eaten all over the world, and he has said, "This is the restaurant that you will be like, man, this guy is like he's dialed in."
All right. Tell the people where is Eric Repair's place. What is that place?
Roberta Dan in New York, in Manhattan.
Bernadette. Love it. Love it. Um, I would love to eat there too.
We should go.
We should go.
Grab the girls. We'll go eat lunch.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let me ask this last thing. If you were not cooking today, what would you be doing?
I would be 100% the way that I'm going to be, and that is the goal, which is I wouldn't see it as an end game, but eventually, smart people, brilliant cooks will be running that dory, and I will be doing what the act three or whatever is for me, and that is we are going to make sure that there is some change in in the way people have access to groceries in this city. And even further out, I mean, I may open a little mom and pop grocery store. I mean, but somewhere along the line, and we are tracking to do this, is we are passionate about the local food economy. And that is, not the big boy down the road. It is the guy who is feeding his family on 3 acres. Wow. And I want to make sure, and the thing that is, I think simply in my head, this should be so easy. Why can't we move this to this and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of moving parts to that. And I want to be a part of assembling the team of brilliant minds that are figuring out how we make this guy's life better and this guy's life better together. And I think that it's doable. But I am also, optimistic and I believe in the good of people.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, dude, I love your outlook on it. I'm so happy we had this chance to talk.
Thank you.
It's going to be a busy weekend and a busy week, and I'm looking forward to all the great things that you have in the future. And I'm going to let you get back to it, man, because your phone has been active for a little while now, and I'm sure you got some messages that
are banging away over here. Look, for the rest of everybody that doesn't know, Chuck is going to come and guest psalm in the fall at Dory, and our wine guy is super excited to have him. Their styles are totally different, but Chuck is very educated, and Rusty is just so traveled that I can't wait for them to get and bang some stuff off each other. It's going to be, and maybe we'll have a guest chef in there from Mississippi too. We'll figure that out.
It might be a cool opportunity. Dave, I can't wait to come up. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it, man. Love you, brother. Kiss Amanda and the baby for me. We will talk more, guys. Thank you.